Hi. So, this is a video that I've wanted to make for a few months now, and I kept putting it off because I didn't know exactly how I wanted to make it. And the thing is, I kind of took a step back and realized, asked myself if I was moving closer towards my goals. And the problem with that answer is being honest with yourself and realizing that you had a stack of projects when you decided to do something, and that stack of projects hasn't moved. And that's the situation that I kind of realized that I was in. I wanted to finish certain projects and kind of got stuck on a side quest. And I had to be honest with myself and say, okay, this isn't the main mission, right? This is like going to a restaurant and ordering a bunch of appetizers and being full by the main dish. So I'm here to talk about Free McBoot, and I got it a while ago. I have an official Sony HDD. I've had it for years. I've never used it. So it was just sitting and collecting dust until I saw some videos on Free McBoot, and I decided to check it out because it seemed interesting, and a lot of people were making videos about Free McBoot, and most of them were talking about the aspect of emulation. And when I got Free McBoot, I was actually surprised that you could actually copy discs that you have on the hard drive. The thing about it is, I don't really use it for emulation purposes. Like, for the most part, I still play from my DVDs, and I will play from those DVD ROMs until they stop working. But it's definitely dope that you have the ability to copy your games or back up your games on a hard drive, which, I don't think a lot of people talk about. I think a lot of people talk about Free McBoot in terms of emulation, and I'm not necessarily using it for emulation. I will end up using it for emulation someday, but I also have always been fascinated with the HDD and how it was talked about initially and the initial uses of it. And I believe that it's talked about in this issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly. I have a screenshot, so I'll add it. And what's cool to me is the fact that Sony had larger plans for the hard disk drive, and due to the technology at the time, they could not really implement them. But they wanted the PS2 hard drive to function similarly to how the hard drives in PlayStation consoles function now. in terms of, the PS3, PS4, and PS5, where you could, download games, put things on there, and actually save directly to the hard drive. But huge issues with implementation. And the thing about Free McBoot is, in terms of modern gaming solutions to preserve your games, this is the best to me, because it leaves the disk drive intact and you can still play CD based games and have the hard drive. So with this, it's just I feel like Free McBoot is taking advantage of how the PS2 was originally designed, which I think is pretty awesome looking back at it now. And you can put a bunch of games. I have a 1 terabyte hard drive in my PS2, and I've backed up most of the games. The caveat is that if the game is too scratched up, it will error out. And also, one thing to note is that this is a slow process. Like, this actually takes a long time, because the PlayStation 2 wasn't designed, I guess, to really copy. So it is working a little bit harder. And in terms of game sizes, it shows you the game sizes. RPG Maker 2 is an example of a smaller game. This transferred relatively quickly for me. I really believe that the size is tiny. If memory serves me correctly, I believe that the game itself could fit on a CDR. If I'm not mistaken, I can look back and double check, but it was a game that was relatively small to use. And the example that I recorded, because I did actually record a copy process a while ago. I used Batman, and the thing about that was, I wasn't sure, and this is what leads to the hesitation. I wasn't sure if I should go through the step-by-step process of doing it, because I'm not ultimately sure of the ramifications of walking somebody through it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to show the process of actually copying the games. I just want to talk about Free McBoot. And there are aspects of this that I really have not messed with. I could not figure out if there is a way to copy PS1 games. I've only figured out a way of backing up PS2 games. And I think that is just the strict functionality of it. I do not know the answer. If somebody else knows the answer, they can definitely let me know. Also, the thing about the Free McBoot memory card is that, I take this out. This is an unmodded PS2, so it's just a regular PS2. And I have all these regular memory cards. Free McBoot is a 64 megabyte memory card. The file for Free McBoot is too large to copy onto any of the memory cards on regular first party memory cards. So that is something to keep in mind. I still use most of my regular memory cards, especially if I just want to play a game fresh and not have completed save data. One thing I have not tried, because this is an unmodded PS2, is copying games from Japanese discs. And I don't know if that works or not. I do not. There is probably somebody who has tried this. I have a Japanese PS2 to play Japanese games, and I've also not tried using free McBoot on a Japanese PS2. I don't know if there are differences. I don't know if free McBoot will work exactly the same on an NTSC-J PS2. My Japanese PS2 is a Slim, so I also don't have an external hard drive or flash drive that I'm willing to sacrifice to check this out. So I do want to put that out there. Like, I don't really know the full capabilities of free McBoot, and that is something that if you get it, you can test that out yourself. I personally got this because I was interested. There was enough video coverage of it, and I already had the network adapter, so I was just like, why not? And even if you have a fat PS2 and you don't have a network adapter, I did see that they do have the back piece, the third-party back piece, where it doesn't have like the ports for the network cables in the back, so it isn't a network adapter. It just looks exactly like a network adapter. That is something that you can consider when looking into this. But I also wanted to make this video because a lot of people do talk about emulating other systems on the PS2, and it might put some people off from looking into free McBoot because of that. Maybe they don't emulate, or they don't have a need to use a PS2 for emulation. Maybe you have a computer that does your emulation. I don't know. I'm just making this video as someone who does not inherently emulate games and plays the actual consoles and physical games still. And I definitely think this is a better solution than other systems have, which usually, from what I've seen, has you remove the optical drive, so you no longer can play the physical games. You're just purely emulating. And I like that this gives you the option. Anyways, that's all I got. I will catch you guys in the future at some other time, not some other place, because it will be on the Crack Lemonade channel. Peace out.